Hel- Hello, everybody. This is Dahlia with your Woke Wellness Wednesday. I'm very, very excited to have you here.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Can't wait to get this started.
By all means, why don't you give us an idea about you, Brandon?
Me? Well, I am me.
Uh-huh.
DJ, do work on some music, and I have done some music,
Faded.
some sound engineering work, and just part of the team, part of the Stay Woke or Not, trying to stay woke.
Or not. Okay, we're super excited. We have our co-host Alec Raebel. What's up, my man? How you doing?
Like Zoink Scoob. What's
Where
going on? We are racking discipline today, so we're gonna see where this leads us.
do you think this is gonna lead us?
Into some more questions, I hope.
No.
Yes.
No.
Okay, guys. I am very, very pumped to introduce Albert Lopez, a really good friend of mine, an extraordinary creative, and we are here to talk about societal abnormalities. Aniome. Albert Lopez.
How's it going, guys? What's up, Dahlia? What's up, Alec? What's up, Brandon? It is an absolute pleasure to be on Stay Woke or Not. I remember you telling me about this years ago, Dahlia, when we were first hanging out, and I'm very, very proud of what you and your team have done. That animation at the beginning looks awesome. Your merch looks awesome. So I doff my hat to thee.
Thank you so much. Cheers, ladies and gentlemen. Pull up the drinks. We're
I
going to
would
get
too,
rowdy.
but I can't really do that with a beanie.
Hmm? What is it you can't do?
I tip the lip.
I can't tip it. I can't tip a beanie. I haven't figured it out yet.
Me neither.
We'll get there. We have typical beanies out there.
Welcome to Woke Wellness Wednesday. I'm your host with Brandon Durazo and Alec Raebel with a talk about the truth with Albert Lopez. Can you tell us about yourself, Albert?
Yeah, I am an independent filmmaker, documentarian, editor, just doing all kinds of media stuff. Right now, I am staying in the San Francisco Bay Area. I am here in Music City. I'm gonna do a little tilt up with my camera so you guys can see what kind of a space this is. Music City, San Francisco is where it's at. I'm actually doing a lot of work with this particular company, helping promote what they're doing. This is essentially where the next great musical revolution in the Bay Area is going to happen. It's going to happen right here at the corner of Bush and Polk. Not to overplug these guys, but they're open for business, full bar, great restaurant, band rehearsal spaces, a live stage. It's got it all.
So did you know that the Beatnik Poetry Society in the 60s started in SF?
Oh yeah, up in North Beach, I believe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh yes, rich musical history. Also, the documentary that I'm currently working on, if I could just keep plugging away, the documentary I'm working on right now is called When the Sound Hits the Walls. For more information on that, you can go to www.whenthesoundhits.com. And that's the documentary series I'm directing about Hyde Street Studios, very famous studios in the Tenderloin of San Francisco. It's kind of a rough part of town, but it has had all the biggest hits from like the Flower Power era to, I mean, just the last few years. The place is just a hit factory. It keeps churning out really good music. So I'm doing a documentary about that. I just wrapped up a 6-year stint with Halon Entertainment, where I was a visual effects editor, and I worked on all kinds of fun stuff while I was there. Hunger Games, both Aquaman films, did some work on Borderlands 3, Marvel's Midnight Suns. So that was a lot of fun. But I'm back in the freelance world, back in that sweet gig economy, baby. And yeah, I'm when you and I first started meeting, Dahlia, I was working on another project, something that I'm still working on, something I'm very passionate about. It's kind of a personal project, but you know it as Dominion, another documentary series. Only this one talks about the rise of Christian nationalism in America. And I saw this coming back in 2016, 2017 is when I first started researching this and really getting into it. And it seems like America has kind of woken up to that. Christian nationalism is on the minds of a lot of people. One looking at the country and wondering what the hell happened. How did we get this close to the end of democracy? I mean, there's a real possibility, and you know, this is scary, but it's not hyperbolic at all to say that there's a really good possibility that we're gonna see a real severe downward dip in rights, and America's not going to resemble America if the election goes one of two ways later this year. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, yeah, absolutely. And I think that a real understanding of societal anomie, particularly as Emil Durkheim talked about it, will help paint a better picture of like what's going on right now. No, it doesn't really tell us how to get out of this situation, but maybe it can help explain a little bit about how we got here.
So give us like a brief, like kind of like definition of what, and was it Aniome?
Anomie.
Are we saying it wrong the whole time?
No, you're saying it right. It's anomie, like enemy, but with at the beginning of it, and so it's anomie. So yeah.
Anomie.
But it's commonly understood to mean normlessness, like a loss. Like the actual textbook definition is a social condition defined by an uprooting or breakdown of any moral values, standards, or guidance for individuals to follow. Now, right away, that could set off a lot of alarm bells. To point out anomie and to warn people against it is not the same thing as embracing traditionalism. So when I say things like normlessness, I'm not going to go on some rant about how wokeism is destroying everything, or like, oh, now there's 50 genders. When I was a kid, there was only 2. Like, I'm not advocating for a return to traditionalism. I'm simply defining it as it was defined by Emil Durkheim at the turn of the 20th century.
Repeat that one more time for people that
the antithesis to anomie is not traditionalism. So when I say rulelessness or normlessness or a breakdown of moral values, I'm not saying that the answer is we need to go back to traditionalism, which part of the problem in politics particularly is we're seeing people push for traditionalism, and that's causing more anomie. What anomie actually means is it's the decay of social bonds between people within a society. It's I would say one of the best cinematic examples of what anomie is and how anomie destroys and breaks down a person over time would probably be Taxi Driver. The film, the Martin Scorsese film starring Robert De Niro from the 1970s.
That's a good film.
Like, imagine a society filled with Travis Bickles, where everybody is just sort of retreating into themselves, narrating their own crazy thoughts on things, and then acting out in really self-destructive ways. So
this is something that you say is happening like currently in America. Is there any other countries that this has been happening? Like maybe in the past, like a better like example of
where the term comes from. It comes from. Although I don't think Emil Durkheim coined the term, he did use the term in his book on suicide. He wrote this book at the turn of the century because during the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, this is before we had 8-day work weeks and before there was such a thing as weekends. Children were working. This is like, we're talking like the Dickensian era, right? Like kids in tile and brick factories, right? Right. The height of the robber barons at their power, right? So in France, there was an epidemic of suicides. Like, people were killing themselves at record numbers, and this freaked the ruling parliament of France out. So they brought in all these experts to figure out why the hell is this going on. And Emil Durkheim was one of the people they brought in, and he did a very extensive study, and he wrote this whole book on it. And there's a lot of like division of labor stuff that's like in his book. It's well worth checking out. But the part that I'm really zeroing in on is when he talks about how society's just working people to death. There's very low quality of life. There's no upward mobility. We've gone from taking people out of these communities and we put them on assembly lines. We've put them in little cubicles and we just say work, and that's the only way you can survive. They don't have days off. They're basically like, the Industrial Revolution was making people work themselves to the point where they were just like, screw life. You know what I mean? There was and that's the European example. I would say another example more recently if you've heard in the news, like in China, at a very famous cell phone manufacturer, I won't mention their name, but they had an issue where
Samsung. No, just
where workers were throwing themselves off the building because they were being like worked to death. So like it is a
with a social credit.
it is a breakdown of social bonds when we have very little communication, very little shared value, right? And when I say shared value, it's like you take a look at the world right now and everybody's in their own customizable little social media pods. You know, I can have a friendship with somebody in Japan, right? Thanks to the advances in technology. But at the end of the day, I'm in a room by myself. They are in a room by themselves. You know what I mean? It's like the more freeing technology's made us, it's also like put us in these little boxes. And because the sorry?
But it's like, even if it's like put us in boxes, I get it in the aspect of where you're talking about. But at the same time, it's linked us together. So in a weird way, it's like, yes, physically put us in a box, but as a society overall, again, overall the world, I feel like we've become closer than ever. But
I think that's a good point. I'm not demonizing social media. I'm not anti-social media. I love it. I'm on the Facebook. I'm on YouTube. So I'm not saying that social media is bad.
Yeah, that was more referring to on just the internet itself. You know,
sure,
just the internet. Social media is a whole nother kind of thing, which is like a tool of the internet that has linked us. Because I remember when Facebook first started, it was like really cool. You know, it was like everyone was like, "Hey, well, I'm seeing people I've like forgotten in the past." It did seem like a good connective, you know, where it was connecting people. And then when the ads came in and all, like it just transformed into like, you know, what I'm pretty sure what you're speaking of today, from the people you're probably gonna be talking about.
Yeah. Well, there's another component to it. You see, there's also the algorithmic component, and this is where social media gets bad because take for example, like in my researching of Dominion, I have interacted a lot on social media with religious extremism, right? I've followed things, I've commented on things, I've shared things, so I've engaged a lot with media that is the kind of media I would never seek out because it's for my research purposes. And then I log into my normal social media and I'm trying to enjoy myself. And what am I sent? I'm sent all this religious extremist stuff because I'm engaging with that media. And so the algorithm thinks, oh, you must like this stuff. And it's sending me more of it. So there is like a double-edged sword in this where it's ultimately just companies trying to make money. It's capitalism run amok. Again, you know, this is why we can't have nice things. But a lot of the people out there who are really suffering from anime might not realize that, you know, the more they engage with, say, media they don't like, because, you know, take, you know, for example, I hate to use this as an example because it's so vile, but, you know, last year there was a lot of pushback against the trans community because of like because of Bud Light and like you know, Dylan Mulvaney did like a little social ad and then it just like blew up and all these people were freaking out. And people didn't realize because everybody was like, oh my God, trans and LGBTQ stuff is everywhere online. You can't get a break from it. It's everywhere. And it's like, no, dumbass, you're engaging with that media. You get on there and you make your negative comments and you put your frowny faces on there and you give it your thumbs down. But then the internet keeps bringing that stuff to you. So as a result of this Aniome, one particular group that I would say suffered from this would be the trans community. A lot of violence has gone after them because people are isolated. There's a lack of normlessness. They don't know what's right or what's wrong. They're in these weird echo chambers. They're already miserable as hell because, you know, America, people have to work multiple jobs. No one can afford to see a doctor. Everybody's unhappy. Everybody watches the news and it makes you unhappy. And social media, if you engage with that media and you're giving it thumbs and you're just being rotten online all day, that algorithm is going to keep sending you that stuff and it's going to snowball and it's eventually, you know, this is how we get January 6th. This is how we get these like, you know, it's more than that. I'm not just saying it's one specific thing. What was that?
What do you mean by January 6th?
Well, I mean, like, you know, a lot of you get a group of people who are so miserable and angry that they're ready for like violence in the streets. And that's kind of what Aniome does, is that it gives everyone like a collective schizophrenia, if you will. Like I use that term with all respect, but it kind of gives everybody like a almost a collective yearning for self-destruction. And you know, like one of the best examples I can think of Aniome making its way into the political sphere is if you've ever heard anyone on the right talk about how much they love owning the libs. Like, how are you pushing the needle forward on anything if all you do is go online and then you make some person freak out and block you, and then you walk away from that like going, hey, I owned the libs, you know? It's like these weird byproducts of us just being so collectively miserable for so long.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of things on that, and I agree with a lot, just about everything you're saying. One thing I didn't quite hear is like when it comes to like the social media aspect of it, about how when the algorithm is playing into, the more you go for it, regardless of it, because essentially the algorithm doesn't care if you like it or you don't like it.
It just wants your engagement.
Yeah, it just wants you to get it. So, but the thing at the same time is mainstream media is also pushing towards that agenda, which is kind of driving people towards social media. Even if you look on the ads, even like the ads, the new movies that are coming out, all have like transgenderism, like specifically about that topic you're talking about now. It is being shown more now. Being shown more doesn't necessarily mean it's like in a positive or negative light. It's just out there more in the media and art and entertainment. So and every like what I believe now, news gets their news from social media. You know, it's like everything's like, oh, did you see who tweeted this? You know, news has become a step behind.
The tail's wagging the dog. Yeah, I mean, to understand how and why our news functions the way it does, I highly recommend Manufacturing Consent to you and to your audience. I'm sure you guys have heard of this book. It's by Noam Chomsky, and someone I forget his I forget his co-author. It's by him and another author. The name escapes me. I'd have to look it up. But Manufacturing Consent talks about how the news is like it's a commodity, and you're chasing that news commodity because stations are trying to sell you to advertisers. So everything that the news tells us, they tell us that because the corporations that own them want us on a specific capitalistic path. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm not a person who doesn't like to make money. When I say when I critique capitalism, I'm talking about economic exploitation specifically.
Yeah.
So you know,
it's like essentially it's an enslavement in a certain sense.
The evil.
Because it's like
my co-producer and big shout out to Jezreel White, but my co-producer and partner on Dominion calls it colonialism of the mind.
Yes, I was literally about to say it's like slavery of the mind. It 100% is. It's grasping your attention 100% fully to where you don't even like recognize what reality is anymore. And then it's like the movie They Live. You know?
Oh yes.
Bars.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming. Now, here's what it's now. In the movie They Live, it was these aliens that basically used frequencies that blinded us. And it was funny because it is the aliens are the the rich elitists, and they were also the ones that were the news anchors. You know.
Oh yeah.
So that was in the movie. Who, if I'm based off your you're going forward with the documentary. What establishment are the aliens in this reality in today's world?
Ooh, that's good.
That would be the corporate oligarchy. That would be the global corporate oligarchy. That would be every person who, well, I mean, like Rupert Murdoch. I mean, it would be. Are you familiar with the show Succession on HBO?
Yeah.
It's basically the planet is run by people like the Roys. Like there's when people want to raise taxes on the rich, they're not talking about my brother who's a surgeon and gets paid probably several $100,000. They're not talking about him. They're not even talking about the guy who sold a book and made $2 million or whatever. They want to tax like these 60 to 65 families that are worth trillions of dollars, billions and trillions of dollars,
Yes.
who control global conglomerates. Excuse me. They control the global conglomerates. They control the media narrative. They, the Sackler family that made OxyContin. Like these.
What?
It's the I would say that they live aliens in my scenario are the corporate oligarch of people who aren't taxed, who have offshore money, who control the labor, who control the narrative, keep the working class fighting the working class. Because if the working class ever realized how numerous we are, oh, they'd be screwed. And that is why, I mean, there are so many reasons why bigotry. There's so many reasons. So many things have to go wrong for bigotry to exist. But bigotry serves the people in charge because it keeps the white working class fighting the black working class, fighting the LGBTQ working class, fighting the Latin working class, fighting women, as a minority, and like et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It pits the worker against the worker, and that is why the most effective activists who were literally taken out by our government. You got Martin Luther King Jr., you got Fred Hampton, to name a couple. These guys were leading rainbow coalitions when they got taken out. These guys were bringing white working class people and black working class people together, and that is around the time they got snuffed.
Right.
So, you start screwing with the revenue stream of these powerful people. That Boeing whistleblower, what happened to him?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's scary, dude. And honestly, this is.
Wait. Fill me in. What?
So Boeing whistleblower was just recently found, apparently of a suicide, and it just the coincidence of him, and it's so crazy how they're just blatantly doing it. It's like and so kind of on that. And my question to you is, America is a very
great point, Eric.
Young society, a very young nation. And if you look throughout like the history of like other countries, this isn't like a new thing. This is just
True.
This is just a more up to date version of it. And
there is something very new with the precarious position that America finds itself in. Is we're the only
empire. The homie that got stuck in Russia.
So there is one thing unique about the position that we are in right now, and why it's so dangerous, and why you should be more concerned, is that America is the first empire. I mean, no other empire has been in the position where we are, where if we fall, we might take the planet with us. So like the planet, like we may screw the whole world if like, and I don't mean just America. I mean like.
Well, no, I'm kind of referencing that George Carlin bit, where it's like,
right,
planet's gonna be fine, but humans are fucked,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
or you like planetary, like a destruction where like this giant hunk of rock is gonna actually explode, kind of thing.
Right.
And if that's the case, I understand because I'm sure we pack way more nukes than we can think about. Like, we think we know that we have, I'm sure. And I know that there's there's things in science that can really, really fuck, like, mention the kind of things that went up far. But throughout history, though, there's always been the revolution. When it kind of comes to like a certain peak, like kind of like how humans are, is like we eventually like do realize that we do outnumber them, and we do eventually say no. Now, when that does happen, people don't like what happens because it's a lot of death and it's a lot of violence and stuff like that, to kind of balance the powers back. But the one thing that is different is technology. The technology today is just like it's literally a brand new world. Like, I said 2012 was the change of the Guardians. Like the next step of human civilization coming out of like what age are we in? About the Bronze Age, the industrial age, and then now entering into the technologically.
The information age. We're in the information age, and we've kind of entered a dangerous new age, which Chris Rock referred to as the age of spin.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So it's like all you got to do if your followers are just that into it, all you got to do is say fake news and just move on.
Right.
And you could be.
What do you mean by that? Wait, what do you mean by that?
Like the Aniome is so bad that how can any of you, and I don't have the answer to this, could any of you really expect to go to, like, say, a Trump rally and reason with anyone there?
Yes.
Like they do.
I believe if you are talking to a human at a Trump rally and you're talking to him as an individual, I believe a human could see a human and be able to actually have a civilized conversation.
That's a good point.
Agreed. I want to.
That's a good point.
I want to go back to something that Brandon said.
But trying to go to a Trump rally and then calm everybody down on stage, you know, like, and tell them to.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying would be impossible. It's like,
but the only person who can do that, which is funny, is Trump. He can actually change people. It's almost in the same way on the opposite side. So when I was in I live in Long Beach, right?
The PewDiePie pipeline.
That's very astute. That's very astute.
We're gonna call that the PewDiePie pipeline.
So they when I was in Long Beach, it was Bernie all the way. Everybody was Bernie, right? And
Bernie.
I was at this party, and as a joke, okay, I said, "Oh, like, go Trump," right? Now my friends, who I love, we're still friends today, were in my face screaming at me, "Fuck you, you fucking Trump supporter, you're fucking stupid." And there was just this massive mob. I was just joking, and these are my friends, and it was like a mob attacked me. And you know, as that was happening, I was just like, "You're driving me further away from Bernie and just into Trump's arms with this."
This is here, but what's interesting about Aniome is that shit reaches across the aisle.
Right.
Yeah, Aniome doesn't care.
PewDiePie pipeline.
Well, no, I'm saying misery doesn't care who you voted for. Misery is going to come for you. Like, this Aniome is going to come for you regardless of who you support. If you're better informed and you're not susceptible to, say, theories like, oh, JFK Jr. showing up at Dealey Plaza this Saturday, if you're not already susceptible to that stuff, you're probably not going to be as susceptible to the Aniome. But you know, I think that another component, misery loves company. I think another component of Aniome is that it affects people who really, whether by no fault of their own or they just haven't done the work, like, they haven't pulled themselves out of that state of hopelessness. And the kind of like misery that's on them becomes infectious, and it becomes a desire for outward expression. And it's like, I don't care what happens to me. Wow. I'm going to take this hate and I'm going to put it out there. Yeah. And now we're in the realm of, like, spree killing and stuff like that.
I'm going to pivot real quick. Alec, you want to ask the first question?
It's like mental conformist.
Yeah. How would you say your childhood shaped your views in society? Like, are there things that kind of like that developed as an early on in your life that kind of shaped who you are and your viewpoints and perspectives on that concept and topic today? Because it is a pretty big concept. I mean, it's society. I mean, this plays into a lot of different things here.
Yeah, I would gladly share with you the things that sort of put me on this path from a very young age. I'm originally from Sand Springs, Oklahoma. That's about 30 minutes outside of Tulsa. And I grew up in a very restrictive, very dominionist, if you will, home that was ruled by a constant fear of the supernatural, a constant fear of, like, don't sin or else God will X. Like, complete and total religious extremism.
Basically,
the kind of churches that I went to when I was a kid were like the Pentecostal charismatic type, dancing in the aisles, laying on hands and healing, praying in tongues, very erratic, crazy behavior that even as a kid, I knew was not right. Normal people do not behave this way. And every adult that was in my face with this stuff was like, you need to be what God expects you to be. You need to do, don't watch these Saturday morning cartoons. Don't listen to this Metallica. Get rid of all that and only listen to
No
godly music.
Metallica?
Dude, I would straight up tell my mom, I'm like, look, Christian rock and roll sucks. The moment Christian artists can write good rock and roll music is the moment I will listen to it. I'm sorry, but the devil has all the good music. I didn't actually believe that. I just thought it was kind of funny. But but anyway,
Hey guys,
this
scratch that. The devil has all the good.
You grew up in the satanic panic era, right?
I grew up. Yeah, I'm a lot older than I look, but
Wait,
I am.
that is a real thing. Hold on.
Yeah. So the
say
satanic panic.
what?
When it was what year was it that it really kicked off, the satanic panic?
Well, honestly, I think the satanic panic begun in the 1960s. Like 1966 is where I would say it really, the modern as we know it now, because that was the two significant things happened in 1966. The Beatles declared that they were more popular than Jesus Christ, and Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan came on the scene.
Yeah,
that's true.
And then it stretched into like the 80s where it was like really predominant, where it was just like the whole massive just scare tactic.
It got out of control in the 80s. In the 70s, it was anti Dungeons and Dragons type stuff. Like Dungeons and Dragons came out in the early 70s, and then it was like, oh my God, if you let your child play Dungeons and Dragons, they'll either become possessed by the devil or they will kill themselves. And like that was the 70s, and then you get into the 80s, into my childhood, and it was like, don't let your kids watch the Smurfs. The Smurfs is satanic. It was like stuff like that. But I grew up in this very restrictive, like keep my brain in a box kind of thing. And what nobody who was raising me understood is that I had access to my older brother's VHS movie collection. And so I was watching Predator and like Terminator and like Aliens and Conan the Barbarian. And I was like, I was getting my education of how the world ought to be through the interpretive lens of some of my favorite filmmakers. It's what made me want to become a filmmaker. And then as I got into my teenage years, I was very angry and I was very standoffish. And I was kind of a jerk. I was that person that would corner a religious person and be like, you believe in God? Well, you're an idiot, and I was just, I was outwardly expressing my own enemy, so to speak. I had a lot of growing and a lot of learning to do. Mm-hmm. I am not an anti-faith person. I think faith can be wonderful. I think it can be great when it's used properly. Like I think gasoline is great when you put it in your car and it makes your car run. But gasoline can burn your house down. It's like, faith can be a double-edged sword. So I'm not anti-religion, but I am a skeptic. I am a spiritual person, but I'm not affiliated with any kind of religion. But to answer your question, how the childhood shaped where I am is it really happened, like this whole quest of like understanding what is going on with the world happened in 2015. So it was a few years ago when my family, who are big Trump supporters now, were all that none of them liked Donald Trump back in 2015. They all loved Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was just this Christian conservative, and he is our presidential candidate. And Trump, I can't stand him, such a jerk. And, blah, blah, blah. And then breakneck overnight, my whole family, well, maybe God can use an imperfect vessel, and I'm just like, what? And this happened in, I'm in my early mid 30s at this time, and I'm seeing this go down, and I'm like, what is going on here? And then if I could share something that is like deeply personal and sad around that same time, my niece, who I love very, very much, I won't say her name, but she was raised in this. She's the third generation of my family to have grown up in this very strict, very restrictive, for lack of a better term, crazy culture. And I went home one Christmas, right after all this like shift from Ted Cruz to Trump happened. I went home one Christmas and my family was in kind of a panicked state. They were like, we have to figure out what to do about this person. And I'm like, what's going on with her? What's going on? And I knew she was a person of great faith, and I knew her Christianity was important to her. But she had not developed very healthy coping skills, and she was going through a very rough patch, as many teenagers do. And so to cope with this rough patch, she was leaving the house she lived in, just walking out, and she was walking up to the local corner store and witnessing to strangers. just walking up to people that she didn't know and saying,
what she was doing? What to strangers exactly?
witnessing. So she was going up to people and spreading the good news of the gospel. Hey, did you know Jesus died for you? Can I pray for you? Like really just detached from reality and walking up to strangers doing this. And I freaked out so bad. I was raising my voice. I was ready to throw stuff across the room. How could you let this happen? And then I was sitting there watching my brother, who is her dad, who's her dad, and watching my parents just completely and utterly clueless about how to handle this, not understanding how. Well, I didn't, and I'm just sitting there like, my God, this is what 3 generations has done to my family. I have to get to the bottom of this. Now, I'm happy to say that since then, it's been almost 10 years. Since then, she's gotten the help that she needs. She's doing much, much better. So she's doing okay. I'm very, very happy to say. But that was such a shock. And I had, I forgot about all this Christian nationalist stuff. I left it behind when I left Oklahoma. I came to California, was thriving as a filmmaker. And then Christian nationalism reared its ugly head and went for the White House. And when that happened, all of the stuff that I had been repressing, all the stuff that I thought I had escaped, came back and it hit me all at once. And try to imagine the worst childhood bully you've ever experienced, and then imagine that person running for president. And that's kind of what it feels like to see Trump doing his thing. Is I feel like those authoritarians who physically beat me, who physically made me feel small, who destroyed my childhood at every possible corner. Yes, those people that are outside of Planned Parenthood, exactly. It's the same fucking people. Pardon my French. It's the same people. But
So how did she get the help? Like you said that she was going out there and she was and also one thing I do want to
she's gotten counseling, she's gotten medication. So she's gotten proper medical help because we have other siblings in our family. We have doctors in our family, like other people got involved and other people were like, no, that we need to do. So she's doing better. She's doing better.
So is it kind of like so not to use your niece like as like an example because of more of like if it's happening to her, then it's happening to a wide spread of people at the same time. So what she was essentially preaching from the other side of it, like the people that she was approaching to, was that at all anything of like negativity, hatred, or was it just strictly the Bible, the way that
she's one of the sweetest human beings you'll ever meet. Her issue was that she had not developed proper coping mechanisms at the time. Okay.
So it's a lack of development of actually integrating with society, essentially.
Yes, because the church culture that she grew up in kept her isolated on purpose.
Yeah.
Those, don't go out and see that sinful movie. Don't go to that sinful rock concert. Come to church on Wednesday night. Come to church on Saturday night. Come to church on Friday night. It's like it's too much for any child to go through that constantly. And some people break out of it like I did, and some other people end up broken. And it's really quite sad.
Yeah, that's interesting because I believe they basically, I forgot who exactly the dictator at the time was in Russia, basically did the same thing. Where he essentially isolated the whole country with basically bomb threats, essentially. So it's like trying to look up the name right now. But it was like constant bomb threats, and then just like you have no you can't see anything else that's going on outside of like what's going on here. It's almost like what North Korea essentially is doing.
Yes, I want to bring up something else for your audience to look into. It's called the BITE model, BITE. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Mm-hmm.
The BITE model is how it's a shorthand way of measuring whether something is a cult or not. BITE behavior, I information, T thoughts, E emotions. So what are they trying to regulate and control? Behavior, anyway, I just said them all, sorry. But the BITE model is you look at something and you're like, are they controlling the behavior? Are they controlling the emotions? Are they trying to manipulate, et cetera, et cetera? So that's the BITE model. But anyway, yeah, this kind of stuff is scary, and it doesn't have to be religion to be a cult. You know, I mean, you can find that cult mentality anywhere. I mean, the people who you described were yelling at you for making a vote Trump like joke or whatever. There was definitely some cult mentality, it sounds like, going on there.
So
And
is it all
and
against like towards the right side? Because at the same time, the politics, left or right, I mean, it seems like they're both part of the issue. Because I mean, aren't they both like they're both swaying the media? That's essentially swaying,
well,
causing the whole
I
thing.
guess we would have to agree on.
Is Fox News. So I know like that's kind of like a broad term of it, but you know there is a left and there's a right, and it's like essentially it's like they pitted us against each other to the point where saying a joke like that is now like a strong hardcore you are doing something wrong, as opposed
Well,
where it's like no, I'm just saying this doesn't necessarily mean I completely like believe in it. You know, I'm just like having this conversation. So it's like almost like if you in a way, it's like if you don't speak about it, it's also just as bad as speaking about it, kind of thing.
Right.
You know?
sure, but
Right.
let me throw this in there, because I would reject any notion of equivalence between the left and the right. People like Bill Maher say things like, yeah, I would agree, being a centrist is worse. Like people
What would
like
be
Bill,
what is a
people,
centralist?
I'll get to that. People like Bill Maher say things like, oh, the left is just as crazy as the right. That's bullshit. The right is leading the charge of crazy right now. There is no left in America. Now, most developed nations have three main political parties. They have a conservative party, they have a centrist party, which is like corporate Wall Street type party, bankers and shit, and then they have a leftist party. They have a people's party. America does not have a people's party. It does not have a left. It doesn't. It has no left-leaning political. I mean, the greatest trick that the Republicans ever pulled in this modern era, the age of spin, as Chris Rock coined it, the greatest trick they ever pulled was to call people like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden and these milquetoast Democrats, to call them leftist extremists and to make the conversation about how far left Joe Biden is. Bitch, Joe Biden is to the right of center. Get the fuck out of here. He is not a leftist. Okay, that is not. Now, what does centrism mean politically speaking? Yeah, our left isn't shit compared to the left of the world. Completely agree. Completely agree. And that is by design. All right. That is by design in America. Okay. A lot of people, there's a conversation out there about, oh, the system is broken. The system is broken. The system is broken. What if the system is functioning exactly the way it was designed to function, and the system is fucking us up?
Yeah.
So we need to change the system. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen?
It's, I don't think so. I don't think, I hope Joe Biden wins the next presidential election, but is he really going to change the system in the next 4 years? No, he's not. There's a reason.
Is the system really driven even by him?
No.
Yeah. So he's kind of almost irrelevant to like what it is. It's more of like the puppet of it, but the main.
No, I don't want to say that he's completely useless. I can't say that Joe Biden is completely useless. He's done a lot for unions. He had a more pro-union first term than I could have ever predicted. He's done a lot. He did a lot for, I think it was UPS drivers, for railway workers. He's actually done quite a bit. And whoever has convinced his team that this is the way to go is being very smart about this, because going into this election, that he needs to put forth the idea that his policies have worked, which they have. You look at the right, they're not running on policy. They're running on pure vibes. They're running on like, be angry, vote because you need to be angry, because wokeism, because blah, 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 blah. They have no policy. They just want to burn shit down. The right has gone full fascist.
Weren't it like, when you said about like the UPS stuff, weren't they like just recently striking because of certain things? Like,
yes. And what I'm saying is, I'd have to look up the specific policies, but Joe Biden has been good to unions. He's like the most pro-union president we've had since FDR, I think. So he's done some good union stuff, which was smart on his part. And yes, the right marketing is 1,000. The right is way better at messaging. The right rules messaging. The left cannot get their messaging together. Why? Because there is no fucking left. The centrists who aren't doing anything keep trying to tell us that they're here for the people, but they're not. Their policies don't fully reflect that. I think I give a lot of credit to what happened to the Democratic Party, to the Clintons. The Clintons really changed the game in the 90s in a bad way. Are you guys familiar with Glass-Steagall, the Glass-Steagall Act? That was put, yes, no?
A little bit.
No.
Not
That was put into play after the Depression, after like the stock market crashed. Part of the New Deal was this this policy called the Glass-Steagall Act, which kept banks from gambling with our assets. They could only gamble with their own assets. They couldn't fuck with our money. So Glass-Steagall was taken out by Bill Clinton, backed by a Republican Congress, because in the 90s, the Democrats were like, dude, look at all this money that the Republicans are raising by kowtowing to capitalist corporatism. We should be doing that too. Think of the money we could raise. So they went on a corporate money chase, and then they realized once they had all that corporate money, oh shit, we have to do corporate bidding now. And so, you know, you can trace a line of progress from the dissolvement of Glass-Steagall to the collapse of the housing market in 2008. There is a direct line. There is a direct line of causality between those two things.
I was literally about to bring that up. I go, was the next wave from the Depression? That's the real estate crashing, which was a pretty good guise, I guess, for them not to say we fucked up again.
And what did the Democrats do? They bailed out the banks. This is when Obama shocked the shit out of me. I voted for Obama twice, and when the too big to fail announcement was made, I was like, you got to be out of your fucking mind. And that is kind of when the last little vestige of, the Democrats don't give a shit about us at all, do they? And that is why
I just wanted to add to that. Before my mom passed away, she was a lawyer, and she helped people with foreclosures, and she was dealing with the banks making it to where people were not allowed to save their home, and she had to go incognito. She couldn't really put that she was on as a lawyer. She just said it was a consultation and what have you. So that shit is very fucking real.
Yeah. And it's, what's happening now? All these corporations are going around buying real estate. They're buying like houses, and they're like we're not out of the woods yet by a damn sight.
Yeah, they're buying
monopoly.
They're buying all this property, and they're not doing anything with it. Like nothing.
Yo ass better not land on Park Place.
Isn't like
don't do it?
Isn't China currently dealing with that exact issue? Is like
I don't feel I'm not learned enough in international matters. I'm sure there is a causality, but I can't speak to China.
So what it is, like they bought a bunch of this. So they used like the people's money to buy these properties that have just been sitting as like basically saying like this is the investment of the people that is going to be for the future of the people, and they literally did nothing. And so they have so now these people are like, where's the money? And the money's gone into the properties that have nothing going on. So that's kind of what's going on with China, and that's kind of why they're doing a lot of the military push and stuff like that when it comes to that. But it's kind of going exactly hand in hand with America. What's going on with it. So when you say that there won't be any change, now let's just say hypothetically, like if there could be a change, where would be a good like start to look at? Like would it be schools maybe? Like because you say that the unions are doing good. Are the teachers unions doing good? Are they getting paid fairly up? Because there's more kids going on. Like they have less attention span, so how can you even teach them how can
the right
thing when always in your face, So
ever since the government told public schools that they could not discriminate against people of color, as soon as that happened, the right started figuring out how can we keep this from happening to our kids, and this is when homeschooling became a thing. Private schools became a thing. And the Republicans' quest to dismantle and destroy public schools also became a thing. It is very difficult to get teachers unions to do anything, to improve school lunches, to improve buses, like nothing, because Republicans are like, look, we need public schools to fail because our private schools can offer kids NASA programs. Private
Wait a
schools
second. I got a question. I got a question for you
have
guys. What do you
advanced
think
curriculum.
what do you think? Is it Jada and Will Smith making a school? Kanye making a school?
Yeah, but
I think Google, has their own STEAM program.
I would have to look more into the celebrities doing it, but I'm speaking specifically to like the John Birch Society, to like these like dominionist organizations that were
I think those
were
like trade schools that they're starting to be about. So it's more like what specifically what I'm speaking of is like the elementary schools. And what's interesting that you said that because like I just recently in Los Angeles there was a couple of private Christian schools that are closing down because they have dropped like they're like 70% of people who are not enrolling into the Christian private schools right now. So I don't know if that's like a push of a good extent. I think it was St. Agnes. And I know for sure it was St. Agnes, and there was another one. It was in the greater Los Angeles. One was at like about 70-something% of people not enrolling. And another one was at like like a mid high 60%. Which is massive.
I could see that in places like Los Angeles, but where I'm from, Tulsa, Oklahoma, that is not the case.
Okay, because this was in the span of 5 years too. So this it's a progression forward of that. And Los Angeles, Hollywood, they do make the wakes of change. So maybe that could be a starting point of something. Maybe, who knows? It's so weird how like I said, these revolutions will kind of just brew up and then pop. And hopefully with I know that you've dove deep into this, and I can't even come close to knowing what but based off what my understanding is, and watching what you sent us about the documentaries, which were really good. I want to see the entirety of it. We
will definitely have Albert Lopez to return to the Say Welcome Hotness.
I saw that, and I've already talked to maybe 10 people who probably already talked about it. So that awareness can spread so fast, because of things like this right now. And so I was kind of curious on your opinion. Do you believe that the Aniome is it so deeply rooted into society that there is absolutely no way out of this? Or
no. Aniome is a byproduct. Okay. Aniome happens when the conditions are bad.
Okay.
Right. It's like you don't take a shower for a while, you start to stink, right? So Aniome is
told me to shower before I got on stage.
Aniome is the byproduct, right? Aniome is the byproduct. This is why I support policies on the left versus policies on the right. Is policies on the answer is no, I'm not. I have a girlfriend.
Shut up, Iraq. Shut up, Iraq.
Oh my God, Iraq, dude.
Calling me musty ass on my show.
As long as he's talking about you, it's okay.
You know what? He already knows I'm flying over. I'm gonna kick
this is why I support, to get back on topic, this is why I support policies on the left, is because they are proven to raise the quality of life. And when the quality of life is raised, less people are going to Klan rallies, less people are becoming mass shooters, less people are committing suicide, less people are feeling or getting online, spreading bullshit. You have to reintegrate miserable people back into the economy. And I don't know how to do that. I don't have the steps, but I feel like I supported like a basic universal income, and I think something like that is going to be necessary. The more we see AI and robots taking over our jobs, more people are going to need a basic universal income. We need healthcare. We need Medicaid for all. We need healthcare for all. People should not have to spend their rent to go see a doctor and then be broke and not have rent.
It's like-
you know, minimum wage needs to skyrocket. Why are CEOs getting record bonuses, and why have minimum wages not risen since the 70s? You know, it's like these are all we have to improve the American quality of life for everyone, and that's how we chill Aniome a little bit. You know,
It's like-
and I mean, I'm not trying to say that I sympathize with assholes who burn crosses and put them on people's lawns. Fuck those people. But you have to be pretty twisted to either you love and doing this shit and you're crazy, or you are just so fucking miserable and so lost and so messed up that the idea of racism suddenly sounds appealing. You know what I mean? And that's how a lot of these people get recruited. You know, they're just miserable. Anyway,
it kind of goes back to the old misery loves company, you know.
Yes.
And so I believe that you how you said, you know, you don't really know what to do. I think you're already doing it, you know, just like the spread of awareness, because you know, you drop a pebble in you know, still water,
Sure.
it creates a pretty far ripple. And you know, so just like the more
That's
pebbles
very
that get
true.
dropped, you know, it'll really like create a wave.
Yeah.
You know, and like and again, like just like the amount of passion and drive you have like towards this, of, you know, really wanting to share this, like for people, for humans, you know, like as equals, not for any like selfish, you know, or any you know, agenda driven type thing, except for the agenda of, you know, bringing peace, essentially, you know, amongst people. And like I said, you know, the top people see us as a business, so we're just materials, not humans, you know. So if that, once they kind of see that we actually are humans again, you know, hopefully that'll you know, straighten things out.
Mhm.
You know, theoretically.
That's going to be one of the last questions that we have. We're down to the last 3 minutes. By all means, if you want to answer that, let me know, Albert.
I think that what happened was absolutely tragic. I nothing but love and sympathy for that soldier's family. You know, I don't know the full story. I know that he said like free Palestine, I believe, and and just self-immolated. I mean, that's really awful. I think that there was a lot of negative media reaction on the right to that, where they were, you know, I mean, this is anyway. Self-immolation is not the answer. I do think that we need to raise awareness on things like the apartheid in the Middle East and things like that, but I would not want to see anyone harm themselves to get the message across. And just so we're all clear,
Agreed.
I have no desire to harm myself either, just in case
Good.
Good.
anyone from Boeing knocks on my door.
I got
answer.
a news flash. While we are definitely talking about the cult, I am the leader of this cult, and it's been pretty exciting. You know, I'm all about open discussion and open minds, you know, talking about the bigger truth. Yeah.
Shout out to Dixie. Shout out to my homie Dixie. She got me this shirt.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. If you guys haven't already, be sure to check out the website. We got a lot of cool things going on. Music Monday. This was a Woke Wellness Wednesday. I'm going to be a vendor with techno nights more often. If you don't have a dog, you should get a dog. We got dog hoodies, magnet stickers, as well as no way. Oh, Brandon, you're in the website. Did you know that?
I did not until now.
Yeah, you're on the website. Did you know that?
Congrats, dude.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
made it. You've made it.
Part of the poll. Yeah, I added him.
I'm fully in.
Love it.
You know what they say? If you can make it on Stay Woke or Not, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, it is true. We got backpacks, also newest flavors: pecan pie,
Ooh,
mocha,
what?
caramel, cinnamon, hazelnut. For all
This
you
is to
nutty
keep you
professors.
going. Keep you going. For
Yeah,
the truth.
This is how you stay awake, so you can be woke.
This is how you stay woke.
Yeah, and I'll never touch French roast, but you can.
Unbelievable.
I'm a cowboy. I'll definitely do a cowboy blend all day, all day. I was born in Houston.
This is so cool, Dahlia. This is so cool. I'm so proud of you. This is amazing.
I really appreciate it. Also, I have yet to order this. I have coffee capsules.
What?
I don't even know what that means.
You pop it in something?
I have
means
no idea.
you're so lazy to drink a cup of coffee that you just take a capsule.
Yeah. And then if you have no idea what the fuck you want, you could always get the sample pack. So by all means,
I might give me some of that. I'm gonna have to get me some Stay Woke coffee.
Do it, man, and
Yeah,
get your.
And hey, I let me just say, I definitely want to come back on the program. The next time I'm here, I'm gonna drop this right now. We're gonna drop it on Stay Woke or Not right now. There is a documentary coming out later this month that actually has to do with Christian nationalism. I won't say the title, but it's from a very famous director, and they're gonna talk about the Seven Mountains Mandate. Okay, the Seven Mountains Mandate is a thing. Look up the Seven Mountains Mandate. It started in 1975. It started with the guy who did YWAM, Lorne Cunningham. He's one of the founders of it. There's a lot of other stuff, but the Seven Mountains Mandate, a socio-political strategy by the right to dominate the seven spheres of influence in society and populate them with a Christian minority that's in control of it. We're going to talk about that next time, but you heard it here first before it drops on that documentary.
And you know what?
You know,
I'm so excited. This was a talk about the truth of Albert Lopez. People have no idea that this has been a year in the making. They have no idea. You're literally
we've been talking about this for a minute. We have been talking about this for a minute. Coming at you in Music City. Hey, look up Music City, San Francisco. Come rehearse. Come get a meal. It's a cool place.
Yeah.
And Dahlia, you gotta come check it out, Dahlia.
We got Wisconsin. We got Los Angeles. We got Alaska's ass, Arkansas. She tuned in today. Other people tuned in. Thank you guys so much. I just want to let you know for next Wednesday, it is going to be Wayne Garner, Native American country singer that is now gonna be. He looks like Jason Momoa. By all means, he might kick him off and become the next Aquaman. All right, we got him on the lineup, and a lot of other surprises. So you're gonna want to like and subscribe. You're also going to stay caffeinated, and you're gonna want to get a dog hoodie. Right.
Keep your eyes on the Insta. That's all I'm gonna say. Keep your eyes on the Insta.
Shh. Don't tell them about the cult. Don't tell them.
I'm so sorry.
All of us are in the Discord. Shut the fuck up. We're all in the Discord.
Let's spread it.
Oh my God.
We have reached maximum silliness. I love it.
Yes.
No.
All the eyeballs. All right, thank you guys so much. That was a Woke Wellness Wednesday. Stay woke.